Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Angry Cast and Fallout Shelter 2023. How y'all doing? So, rabbit holes. Yeah, we love them. We love them a lot. We are prone to go down them thanks to the algorithm in YouTube. It happens. I was discussing this with Bailey over dinner. I took her out for her birthday last week. She turned 16, and I don't know where the hell I got a 16-year-old. If y'all remember, way back in the day, her and I used to play stuff like Portal 2 and Wolf Quest and things like that, and Little Big Planet 3. Oh, back in the old days. And 7 Days to Die. Oh my gosh. So talking about rabbit holes. Go down the rabbit holes of my playlists on the channel. But she got down a playlist, rabbit hole of horse chiropractors. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know it was a vocation. Apparently, I learned some things that horses, when you do a chiropractic adjustment on them, if it's something that provides them with relief, they will like lick their lips and yawn. Now, I was always under the impression that when you did that, if you saw a dog licking its lips and yawning, that meant a bad thing. They were scared and you should walk away or, quietly back up. But apparently for a horse, that means a good thing. And then that led to her going down a rabbit hole and watching those videos. And then there was chicken chiropractors and turkey chiropractors. And I'm thinking, like, what? And like, yeah, I'm like, how do you perform a chiropractic adjustment on a chicken? I mean, I've known to do that with wings, pull them apart. Hey, chiropractor, call me a crab chiropractor at the Red Lobster, right? I'm cracking those things open really big. And I lick my lips and yawn when I'm done. But, I don't know how that happened. But then again, I remember 10 years ago, I started down a rabbit hole. Actually about 12 years ago, I started down a rabbit hole watching videos from a little group called the Yogs Cast. You might have heard of them. They were playing this little game called Minecraft. You might have heard of it. And that actually led me to wanting to be a YouTuber and perform and put out content for playing Minecraft. Back in the golden age of YouTube, back when you could actually do that and make a career out of it. And nowadays, how are people making careers on YouTube? I don't know, but I think I might somewhat know because I got myself down a rabbit hole. Here recently. But let me back up a second and kind of like lead up to this. So back in the day, I was, as a college student, I worked part-time at in the summer at amusement parks, and I was responsible for coming up with T-shirts for our groups, like for our team, the games grew. And I, found a local caricature artist, a guy that does, a picture of you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend at the park, with funny faces and hats and whatever. And I gave him some money. He drew up a design that I gave him the information on. And then I found a local print shop, got them printed, got some orders, made a little bit extra money that I, paid somebody for gas because they let me borrow their car. And, I didn't really make anything out of it, but, that's kind of like got me like into that idea. And then later I, started making my own designs for shirts and selling them on the internet, as you can see from the links and me constantly saying, hey, go buy my merch, that kind of stuff. So there's always been, that sort of creative thing. And it's like, there's a bit of that creativity gene that's kind of been handed down. But with my father, he, had more of a physical, creativity. He was like a woodworker, metal art, it's like that. He took metal welding classes, and he actually built some great things. We call them the wonderful things he would build, like a grill out of a 55-gallon drum, parts of a swing, some old countertops, and the wheels from a lawnmower. And he also built a forge for his workshop. A forge, like the thing you heat up metal in and pound it out. He made that out of a Weber grill and a shop vac. So, again, guy was a genius. So, he's probably looking at me like, hey, I don't know what I did wrong with this guy. I miss him every day, but, that's probably the case. But I sort of like missed out on that physical aspect gene. Now, of course, like also while working when I was in high school and in college, I also worked backstage on theater shows where I was in the scene shop. And so I have a little bit of that, I could build some things, use some tools and whatever else, but I'm not real great at it. I wouldn't say that I'm great. Like I just did some wiring at the house that I sold and some basic work, but I wouldn't say I was just to get it done. It wasn't like things that I would qualify as being, expert work by any means. But every time I kind of like get into this little bit of a creative rut, and it happens a lot sometimes. Just recently, well, not recently, like a few years ago, I was unemployed for 9 months, and I had like all this time on my hands. I was like, oh, I should be doing stuff. I should be, making, doing things, making money. And I just kind of like played video games and designed t-shirts and went on job interviews. But then during the pandemic, we had, everybody was at home and doing things. And I instead of making Rube Goldberg devices to, like I was doing an OK Go video, and people were making all kinds of things and sourdough starters and all that, I played video games and fooled around on the internet and made t-shirts. But I was still working though. But during that time, I sort of kind of got invested in American pickers. American pickers, they pick over your, oh, look, I found a chassis from a 1940 Ford, or I found a seat from a bicycle, or, I found a Texaco metal sign. Oh, I can, give you 50 for that, and I'll sell it for 200, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, great, yeah. Because Megan and I like to go to antique shops. We like to look at that stuff. And I'm always looking for things to see if I can maybe, do that. And I tried that once. I found, some old cookie jars in the store, and I bought them, and I was going to turn them around on the internet, and I didn't really make any money off them. So it's kind of that didn't work. But the one thing I have kind of been thinking about is I could be making things. I should be making physical things. I want to really kind of make things. Part of me was wanting to make, back in the day, remember how... there was this really brief time period where people were making gaming tables with plasma TVs on them, built out of around a plasma TV, so you could have your map and everything on the your game map on in front of you and do all that stuff, and you just hook it to a laptop, and the game master or the DM or whatever was doing their thing behind the scenes on the laptop, and it would show up on the table in front of you where you would roll your dice and all that stuff. And I thought that'd been cool, but this rabbit hole I went down was watching guys build stuff out of pallets. And I'm talking about the pallets that you find outside of a store or in the back alley where, their shipments come in on. And there's one guy I started watching, I think his name's Kent Morley. It's a guy, he's a curly-headed guy. He builds desks out of pallets, and he's got a YouTube channel. And then there's some Danish guy, I think his name's Jesper Makes. And they're really fun and interesting to watch, and they're cool and all that. But they make it look so damn easy. And I know it's not easy. It's anybody that tells you that shit's easy, they're looking at you like you're not really a woodworker, are you? It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of tools and work that. And you think about it, and the sad thing about it is that Jesper, he lives in Denmark, so he's putting his stuff up on the internet on his store, and it's for 3,500. Well, a krone, a Danish krone, is a little bit more, has a little bit more value to it than $1. I think it's 25 cents to the 25 cents. A krone is worth 25 cents. I think that's how that works. So this $3,500 item that he's putting up on his shop was around $600. So, okay, yeah, let's math that out a little bit. He's getting a pallet probably for free. And so he's, no money there. He's putting time and effort into it. So let's say he puts in 40 hours. Now, if I'm working my regular job in 40 hours, you're talking, a good amount of money. But let's just say I'm farting around on the weekends or in the evenings. So I put in maybe 5 hours worth of, start to finish work on this thing. That's still going to be somewhere in the realm of $200 and some dollars, $300 and some dollars just for labor alone. Then you got to figure he's got to use his equipment and run power and clean up. So let's say, he probably, he's going to have a planer and saws and all that stuff that's already been paid for. So he's just using it to make money. But he goes through you go through your routers, your sanding pads and your grit paper and all that stuff. So you're probably racking up some money there. And then you got to get into the epoxy he uses, so and the stain. So you're probably pushing some money down the hole on that one. So about the end of the day, you're probably only making maybe a couple of hundred per item. And they're individual pieces. You can't mass produce them really. You probably could, but why would you? And I kind of got this idea, saying, go buy a pallet. And this was smart. The other guy that does desks and all that, he went on Amazon and paid $250 for a standing desk frame, and then he used the pallet to make and then basically they're all butcher block when you get down to it, the way they look in some cases. But some people, they get a little bit crazy with the ideas and the designs, and they're pretty cool. But mostly they do a lot of butcher block kind of look of it. They stack them all together. They shave the pallets down. They cut them lengthwise until they're a couple of maybe an inch or and a half thick, and then they stack them side by side, and they glue them, and then they use the clamps, and they make that all. Then they fill in the gaps with epoxy. Because pallets are never clean wood. There's always knots and shit like that. And then they're gonna do epoxy to cover the holes and all that other thing. And then they're gonna sand it down, and then he was gonna attach to this for standing desk frame, and sell it for $1,500. Okay, so fine. He was probably putting in maybe about $400 worth of work into it. And then the $250, so maybe $600 worth. He was trying to get twice his money back. That's commendable. Hey, you're doing something. You're building something. You're doing physical work. It's art. It's craftsmanship, that kind of thing. Yeah, I can understand that, but not a lot of people sell it. And you can only do it one time, and then you have to get into shipping and all that stuff, and it gets to be really crazy. And then they are where are you actually making your money at? Are you making any money on that thing? But I saw all these little things on the sites that were wine boxes and stuff like that. Well, that you can kind of get into. You can sort of mass produce those and get that done, and you can probably make some money off of those. So maybe that's where you got to go with it. But I don't have that kind of time and effort. So what is there to do? I mean, if I thought more about it, for this to actually work, and the only reason I'm saying this is because I'm looking to the future. I'm looking to see what can I do to diversify and do something, and then be creative at the same time. And that's kind of the problem, because, and I've experienced it, the reason I don't do custom work for people who I've done a handful of things. A friend had come to me and said, oh, I'm doing a theater show. We need some shirts. Here's what we're kind of thinking. And I'm okay, let me put together something and give it to you. And I had the freedom to figure out something and then work backwards from there, instead of saying, what exactly do you want me to do? And then do it. Because then it becomes a back and forth and it never gets done. And, on top of everything else, I would charge a flat rate per hour to do the work. And then they'd have to buy the stuff anyways, because I don't do my own printing. So I don't really tend to do that a lot. I don't tend to sell my artwork to people because they could, in fact, do what I do and just put it up on the internet. And then, I sell it for maybe, let's say I do $100, and then they go and put it on a shirt, and they have a better way of getting, the word out and get sales, and they're making more money than I am. So it's, I typically reserve the right to put it up and sell in lieu of, a fee. My friend that was doing a theater show, I put it up on the site, gave him the link, he bought the shirts, I got some royalty from the shirt, much less than I would have got, from the shirts themselves, and then, it was great, and it still sells, people still buy it. Every so often I see another one, oh look, there's a batch of 16 shirts going out for this, somebody must be doing that performance, that show for their school or whatever, so I'm oh, there you go. But I don't, like I said, I don't do it typically as a custom order for people, because I don't want to get into that, and I don't want to work with friends that way, because I don't want to prevent, cause problems, and I, it's just a whole thing. Don't, rock the boat while you're in it kind of thing, or shit where you eat when you want to talk about those types of things. So, yeah. And in the same reason, Megan is a wonderful cook. She is a, wonderful, has a way in the kitchen with a lot of stuff, in baking and cookies and soups and pies and all that stuff. But she wouldn't want to do it as a job, because it would not be fun anymore. If you had to do it for money, it becomes a problem. And like I said, I'm the same way. I don't like to do those types of things as well, because I rarely make things for other people. I make it more for me, but even I don't buy my own stuff. So that, there's that. But the idea is it's always there. So it's these ideas that I have that are typically I think someone might like this, and I'll put it out there. But I don't do them for anybody in particular. And if I had to if I actually spent the time I should spend on the shirts that I in order to make it really, really, really successful, I wouldn't enjoy it anymore, and it would become work. That's why I don't do it. Kind of why I don't really try to nail this whole video game thing, because it would be work then. It's work now, in essence, but I still enjoy it. I maybe put out 3 videos a week. I record maybe 3 hours a week, edit maybe an hour and a half. So I'm like putting in 6-9 hours a week on 3 videos, and I'm not really making it. I don't make anything on it actually, but you can show it shows. The quality shows. It really does. So like her not making, baking and cooking for a job, and me not doing that kind of stuff as a job. For me to actually get through, like I said, going down that rabbit hole, we're really down there, Alice. We're getting further to the, closer to the bottom. Things are going, things are upside down, wibbly wobbly and all that stuff. But the idea that if I were to try to do the same thing that like this Jesper guy does and this other guy on YouTube and all the other guys like Dane makes and all that other stuff, it would be hard for me to enjoy it. Like I would start to see that I like to create with wood and do all that stuff, and I'd love to just chuck the whole 9 to 5, go out, grab a piece of wood, shape it, put it into it, make it something, and be done, and then sell it. Yeah, great. But again, the cost and the effort versus what you would get back doesn't seem like it's a lot, so I couldn't justify that being a job. It's a side hustle. But then again, it can't be that much of a side hustle when it involves a lot more work to do that kind of stuff. So I would have to figure out, and this is my brain working, I would have to figure out a way to mass produce something, and then you run into quality issues, and then it's become an issue, and then it becomes not fun, and you have to keep up with orders. And so it's like I don't want to do it and make a shit ton of money, because there'll be expectations, you know what I mean? So it's like, where's that sweet spot? Where's that sweet spot of doing a couple of things? Reclaiming some stuff, putting it together, and selling it. But it's like I do want to do something that nets a little bit of cash, because I need to pay off some things that I'd like to get, and everything else. And again, I'm down a rabbit hole. I'm down a rabbit hole of doing that kind of stuff, and it's never going to end well. But that's what we do, and it's the fun. It's the game. It's actually sitting there trying to figure out how I can turn something into profit. My brain droppings, my things on paper, things on shirts, things on everything else. Would be wonderful. I could figure that out, but it's just not going to happen today, because I got to pull into a gas station here and get some lottery tickets. Because have you seen the Mega Millions and the Powerball? My goodness, why not? I only play when it gets to be like this big. I don't go crazy. I only go like. So let's end on this. Let's end on a what if note, because we're I want to push it close to that 20-minute mark for this whole thing, of course. But what if I were to win either the Powerball or the Mega Millions? It doesn't matter. Either or. I mean, if you're thinking, as of right now, it's like 700 for one, 500 for the other. So okay, yeah, let's what 350 for the one and 250 for the other. Does it really matter at that point? I mean, anything over 100 million, does it really freaking matter how much you make? And that's the problem. That's a whole other issue that we need to. I'm not going to talk about, but needs to be talked about. Let's say I got like $250 million from the lottery. I would definitely probably quit my full-time job, and I would go out into the woods and I'd find a piece of wood and turn it into something, and I would do that, and I would so do that. That would be my thing. You wouldn't hear me from me again on YouTube. Would I make videos about it? Probably, of course I would. I'd attach a phone or a camera to looking down over top of a table for me doing the work. This would be a whole series. I'd turn it into a TV show. Who knows? I would make my own thing. That would be it. That's what I would do. So, the lottery gods, if you're hearing me and you want to see this happen, make it happen, and I will buy a workshop. I will fill it with all the cool tools I need. Actually, I want to go get more antique tools. I want to go get like old school woodworking tools. Yeah, I want to have a planer that I can just feed boards through. Yeah, I want to have a router sleigh that I don't have to do shit like that, with hand by hand. Yeah, I'd like a drill press. Yeah, I like the miter, all that stuff, bandsaw, all those things. I want to have a full working sawmill at that point. But then I would go and I would have to I would lose my fingers probably. Yeah, because I'm not that graceful. Maybe not. No, it would be fun. I think it would be cool. I would go and buy stuff and turn it into other things. I would do that. That would be my thing. And I would also probably, and believe me, I would set up scholarships and I would do all kinds of fun things and give away money. I would give away money. I would do all that. Because again, after $100 million, I'm 48. After $100 million, what the hell am I going to spend that money on, before I die? I could live off the interest alone. But that would be the thing I'm going to have. It's going to be fun. I'm going to do things with it. And I'm not going to just squirrel away in a hole. And I'm going to, it's a give and take kind of situation. I will, of course, give back. to my friends and family and to people, just random people. I you know, if I win the lottery, I'm going to be paying some people's student loans. Who knows? So, but with that, if you like what you're seeing and you want to help me out, not to get people's student loans paid off, but to just keep the channel going, please, by all means, subscribe, like the videos, you know, get it, engage in the comments. That gets it higher up, and I guess on the algorithm or whatever, from what I was told. And, you know, we'll see you next time. And please, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.